what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to another episode of Found Footage Fridays with my co-host, Tom Reimer.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We made it through another week.
We made it. We're here. We're talking found footage.
Yes, indeed. So this one was kind of random, right? Because I was like, oh, I just watched this, and maybe you'll want to watch it too.
And funny story, this is not the first time this has happened. Angel suggests a movie. I say, yeah, that sounds great. Haven't seen it. Start watching it. And immediately, I've definitely seen this before.
Oh, so this wasn't a first watch for you.
No, so I had a second watch of JeruZalem.
Oh, this is my first one. Yeah. So we're talking what year did I say? 2015? Yeah. The 2015 found footage movie, JeruZalem.
Sorry, I spoiled it there.
That's okay. That's okay. We still have to do our thing either way.
Got to do our thing.
The short synopsis for this is three friends, Sarah, Rachel, and Kevin, take a holiday in Jerusalem and are having a great time in the historic city. But the tide soon turns and they enter a biblical nightmare where they are chased by something. I'm not going to read the rest of that.
They're chased by something.
They have a hard their time in vacation is over and things get real fast. So, well, not real fast. That's not true. But once it starts, it really starts.
So this movie, another unique sort of take, another unique way to be filming the entire time. This one, the setup is basically that the main character, her father gives her, I don't know what they're called, some sort of glasses, something
like
glass.
Smart glasses, I guess.
Smart glass or something like that. Basically, it's like a smart phone, but glasses. And so she's literally recording all of the time, which should be like maybe my one problem with this movie is that she's literally recording all of the time, which I don't think she needs to be, but I feel like 100% of the time she's recording.
Yeah, this reminded me of VHS also.
Yeah, had that sort of feel like this could have been a short, or part of this could have been a short.
Well, and the very first short in the original VHS is on glasses. Now, they're not smart glasses. They're just jerky guys who are trying to do bad things, and they put a camera on the glasses. And
is that the one at the hotel room? And that does the movie. The feel of this movie sort of reminds me of that. Yeah.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No. So I thought that was, aside from, I guess, VHS did everything first, I guess. But,
yeah, I mean, they started a trend, right?
Right.
A resurgence,
but not at the very least. This is not a way of filming that we've seen very, very often.
No, not at all. Yeah.
This is a movie with definite lore and definite roots in history and a time gone by. Like this is set in obviously Jerusalem, which is where our main characters go on a trip, on a vacation. They wanna go and party, and they get much more than a party while they're there.
Yes.
So I can already sense my spidey senses are tingling, and I can tell my found footage senses are tingling, and I can tell that Angel does not love this movie.
Angel does not love this movie.
I did like this movie, Angel, which I think you thought I would.
I did think you would. That was why I recommended it. I kind of gave a brief thought. One of the problems I had with it, we talk a lot about the setup of found footage films and what we're used to, and we're used to the setup sometimes taking a while. The problem is this starts out with a really cool scene, and then there's nothing for like a very long time. And then when things finally happen, they do get good. So you get to go first for tapes this time, but when I get to mine, I'm going to rate it in two different ways.
Okay.
Because there were things I loved, but there were things that really disappointed me. And so it was a very, a juggle of emotions, as it were, while I'm getting through it. So Yeah.
Yeah, so I did like this movie for a lot of
Mhm.
reasons.
Yeah.
Um, it really got my attention pretty quickly.
Mhm.
I didn't think the setup was um, overly complex, although there was something that you're hinted at with the main character's brother at the beginning of the movie.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, I thought the characters were all really believable. I thought the actors were really good in this movie. For them, almost all of them were really strong. Um, I thought that just the feel and the look of this movie was awesome. Like I feel it probably was a bigger budget found footage movie, to be quite honest.
I
And
think so. Yes, because I
it
think they
looked
had.
like it.
Yeah.
It looked like it.
I think so.
I don't know if it had a theatrical release, but I would not be surprised if it did.
Yeah.
Um, and so I
It did.
gave it did have a theatrical release. That doesn't surprise me. This has the feel of a bigger budget found footage movie, which is often sort of a negative. I feel is often a negative. Sort of like it feels like sort of an oxymoron for found footage. Like a big budget found footage movie doesn't seem like it should be a thing, but um, this one was. I think I'd be curious if you don't have the number of how much they spent on this movie. Do you do?
I don't know the budget. I know they made 107,000 in the box office.
That's not very much.
Mm-mm.
That's not very much.
I'm
But
not seeing.
I bet it costs more than that to make this movie. Is my guess.
I mean, it won best feature film in a thing called Dracula Trophy, um, uh, audience award, and a best editing award.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
so as far as my rating, I gave this um 7.5 tapes out of 10. You're
Yeah.
nodding. You knew. Um,
I know. I did.
I liked it. I thought it was really intense for like a large portion. The second half of the movie was pretty nonstop. I
Mhm.
liked the setup and the build up at the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, I love the tourists in a an
Yeah.
unfamiliar land setup.
Yeah.
I always like that. I liked it in Afflicted. I liked it in so above as below. Is that
Mhm.
the name of that movie? I liked the setup and similar setup in both of those movies.
Yep.
Um, and in this film, the main characters are on a plane and they meet someone who's I don't know some sort of Indiana Jones type, which they joke about, and he convinces them to go to Jerusalem with him. Let me ask you: is that realistic? If a strange man met you on an airport and said, "Please come with me to Jerusalem,"
Not only do they go to Jerusalem with him, they go and stay at the same hostel he's staying at.
right? They just trust this. They just completely trust a stranger.
They have not seen the movie Taken.
Definitely not. Actually, that's you know what? That's very similar setup to that start
Uh-huh.
of that movie.
2
Yep,
friends go out of the yeah,
same idea.
same idea.
Unfortunately, the
Yeah,
character of
her
this
dad's
movie,
not Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson is not there. Well, so yeah,
Yeah,
they
might
are
have
less
been a
fortunate.
different film altogether. Yeah.
That's taken for. That's hasn't been made yet.
Yeah. I think they would have been better off just having them already know each other.
Yeah, probably.
Like, there was no reason that couldn't have been a thing, you know?
Why was he a stranger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I knew you were gonna say I actually thought you were gonna say 7, but I was close. I was in the same ballpark.
So what were your big problems with this? And what did you rate
Um,
it?
my biggest one was pacing. I think for me, if it's gonna be a bunch of nothing, it needs to be just that from the beginning. I think once I saw the opening, I thought, "Ooh, I'm going to see a bunch of crazy stuff." And then that's not what happened until the end. And so it put me out of it a bit. There's some things like like I don't buy into the meeting a strange guy on the airplane and going wherever with him. I mean,
I
I guess
didn't.
they're
Yeah.
young, but they're not that young. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that was a little weird. And I don't know if it like, I don't know, that part was kind of strange. I think that some of the themes that are supposed to be present, I think could have been like embellished more, which I'll say more when we get to the spoilers. And then there's this one scene in particular that made me so cringe. I wanted to throw up and not finish it. And we'll talk about that in spoilers too. And I was like, why is this in here? Like, this is making me really uncomfortable in like a not okay way. And so I just think the biggest weaknesses were the pacing. The pacing pulled me out of it so that once the thing started moving, it took me forever to get back into it.
Okay.
And so
See,
for those reasons,
I mean,
um,
so I felt. See, I guess I saw it a little bit different. I felt like it was moving at like a lightning fast speed. Basically,
really,
well, there's this exposition of them getting there. That was not moving fast, but like,
but even after they're there for several days before anything happens. Major, two
yeah,
days.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like the second morning or something. They wake up and stuff's starting to happen. But like once it does, like it's 3/4 of the movie. I feel like it's just the craziness, or maybe at least half the movie is that sort of
See, and I didn't
what's
feel like
happened.
that much of it for me. It felt
Oh,
like
okay,
a
interesting.
third.
Okay,
But I think the other thing that's true is like I don't really like I guess Afflicted did this, but it moved faster. But I don't really like I don't get like super into movies where there's like partying stuff. Like usually I'm just kind of
yeah.
like, if it takes too long, I'm like, I don't care about these. I'm trying not to say too much because we're not in spoilers
Well,
yet. But
no, and I don't care about the partying. I didn't like care
that
for
part
it.
makes it seem longer for me though, because I'm so uninterested in that. So then it's like, even if it's only like a short period of time, it feels way longer because I
Yeah,
don't like those setups. Like, I mean, and there's a lot of them, don't get me wrong. And there's plenty that do that. And then I'm just able to ignore it. And the rest of it's really, really good. I mean, there's partying and Afflicted. And it
yeah.
just and plenty of other movies that we've even the ones we talked about on the show, but that for some reason, like that whole thing before things actually kick back up again, it just took too long for me.
See,
And it,
and I think because it's a little bit longer there at the beginning, and I'm a fan of stuff that moves fast too. Don't get me wrong. Like,
yeah,
but one strength of this movie, and it's sort of like a failing of a lot of found footage films, is that
mhm,
there's almost no character development in some other found footage films. And we often talk about how like you didn't really feel bad for these characters or what's happening to them because you didn't really get any time to get to know them. I do feel like in this movie, it's not just those two main characters. There's like four, five. There's multiple characters that you like get to see a lot before bad stuff happens to them, and I think it
I,
makes you don't think
yeah.
so.
I mean, I think the girls I don't really feel like had a lot of depth on pretty much any level. I
No,
think
no,
that
except
the
no. I just meant in general, like the group.
but I think the guy though, the one they meet, what's his name, like Kevin or something, the one they meet on the plane,
Yeah.
I liked his character probably the most.
Oh yeah.
Once we got past the weird, hey, come hang out with me, even though we don't know each other. Once we got past that, and he started like we get into more things with him, I was kind of like, okay, like I kind of
I
like this character more.
I think you're supposed to like him more than them.
Yeah,
Like
I
I think
think
they're
supposed
not
to
supposed to
be.
be great characters, and he is. He is.
Yeah, and I think he's also supposed to be one that you are led to mistrust initially, so that
Yeah.
it sets it up for like the reactions to things as they happen, right?
Right, because you assume, oh, this guy, this is the creepy guy that wants them to go with him, and
Right. And you're
there-
immediately like, yeah, yeah.
but in the he ends up
So
being not
yeah,
creepy.
he ends up being someone that I really liked a lot. I think so. The first half of the movie, I would give like probably like 3 stars for engagement alone. But collectively, because it does get a lot better, I would give this probably like a 5.5.
Okay, that's fair.
It's
That's
pretty
fair.
middle ground for me, which is again, some of these themes are things that like I'm really into, And I just didn't feel like they were executed in a way that just like blew me out of the water.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the strengths of this is I thought visually is such a cool looking
Totally
movie.
agree. And I think it looks
Yeah,
good. I think all of
it does.
that looks really good.
Well, and that's the backdrop for the whole movie. A found footage film in Jerusalem. It's sort of a lot of the things I liked about As Above, So Below, the
Mhm.
catacombs and the underground tunnels.
Yeah,
This had a lot of that same feel, which
feel.
I really like. But even
Mm.
like before all the crazy stuff starts happening towards the end, there's a lot of incidental sort of scary stuff that happens to the main, like her bag gets stolen and she's running through the dark streets at night and she's alone and scared in a strange place that she doesn't know. um there's like there's ways that people, and none of this is in the end the bad stuff that's actually happening, but like
It's just
there's
yeah.
I don't
Well,
know, I think it's
let's
all
go
well done.
into spoilers
Yeah, let's get there.
so we can speak more freely about like the one of the scenes I thought was gonna be scary that I was disappointed wasn't was when she starts like she comes out and she can't find her friend and she's like looking around and she sees this person in like a
Oh
black
yeah,
and
that's
that
what
I
I'm
was
talking
the way
about, that sort of
she
thing.
yeah, the way she moved, I was like, that's really creepy. What's about to happen? And then it being the friend, I was like, I was disappointed. I was like,
But see,
damn.
and that's why I thought the beginning of the movie is effective. They put you in this place, and then they trick you a few times, and it's not actually
Yeah.
what's really the big problem in the movie.
Mhm.
So yeah, so these two friends are supposed to be going to Tel Aviv. They end up going with this stranger that they meet on the plane, because why wouldn't you just go with the stranger that you meet on a plane? And
Wow.
they go with him to Jerusalem. He knows of a great hostel. It really is a cool looking place,
It is a
actually.
really
I
cool looking
mean,
place.
it gives me like travel like jealousy. Like I want to go
It was
travel after
cool. I
watching
love
movies like this.
the sitting area that was outside with all the
Oh yeah,
hammocks and stuff. That was really cute. Yeah.
very very cool.
Mhm.
And they're two young women who want to meet up, and they do meet up with. It's the guy they meet on the plane, and there's the guy
The
who's like
son of the
the
guy
son
who
of the
owns the
owner of the
hostel.
hospital. Yeah, and they end up, going out partying with them, and it sort of becomes like a group of four. I think is the main.
It does.
They're
Yeah.
the main group of four in this movie. Um, Backdrop for the whole movie is that the main character, her brother died tragically. So you
Mhm.
see that at the beginning. She's like sad
Mhm.
about leaving. There's a little shrine at her home. This comes up in the movie a few times.
Mhm.
Clearly, just like always in the back of her head. But
Mhm.
this Indiana Jones guy, you find out he starts like getting weird and acting weird, right? And so you
Yeah.
start thinking like something's wrong with him,
Yeah.
right? And there's a lot of talk about this happens to tourists all the time here, and they seem to have a practice of locking up tourists who lose their minds or think, I don't know. So he starts really acting weird. He gets locked up in
Mhm.
some asylum of some sort
Right before things get like
right before things get crazy.
crazy.
And then turns out the things he was sort of like ranting and raving about um come to be, in
Yeah.
that I'm not exactly sure what the monsters in this are supposed to be, whether it's biblical demons, angels. I'm not sure how you interpreted that.
So I think the point is the movie is about revelations. So because there's a very zombie-esque element to these creatures in the
Yes.
sense that they can infect
Hmm.
with bites and scratches and stuff. But essentially it's turning people into the damned. That was how I interpreted it.
Yeah.
So I would say they look like angels maybe because they have wings, but I would assume demons
Demons. And yes,
because
yes,
they talk about like demonic possession. That's what's happening at the beginning. They're trying
yes.
to like save this person who's clearly possessed or dealing with something, And then that's one of the things that the Indiana Jones guy says is he's like, there's this huge increase in demonic possessions. And, he starts talking about all of this stuff, like rattling all of this stuff off. And this is one of the things I was talking about as far as themes that I love. I love religion and horror. I love it so much. And so I was really into it, but it felt like, I don't know, it just didn't go as deep as I wanted it to. But that's like how I interpreted it. So now they're having to move through the world as it's ending, basically.
Yeah, they basically wall off or lock off, or shut the gates to all of Jerusalem, so nobody can get out.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's, and this is where the real strength of the movie was. Like, it's just like absolute chaos. They're running through the streets. It felt very claustrophobic. It felt very. You could almost picture yourself. Or I could picture myself like running through those streets, and it just was complete chaos.
Yeah.
And as they're leaving, the main character wants to save her Indiana Jones friend from this place that he's been locked up, and she does get him, but they don't make it to the gate. They don't make it before it closes, and so they have to find another way out. The owner of the hostel supposedly knows a way out from his childhood through the tunnels underground, which is where all of these creatures are coming from in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, there's a couple of things that, like, this hits, like, so the scene where they go to the gate, but they can't get out, and they just open fire reminded me of, like, Resident Evil 2, the
Yep.
movie, not the game, where
Yep.
they just open fire on a crowd of people trying to get out. And, like, there was some things like that kind of was, like, mass panic ensues, and then that's when they end up, so they end up, underground. And I think, like, and there's a couple of things they run into one of the creatures before they get that far, in an alleyway or something, and we get this shot of like this thing, and it's very careful, I think, in what it does show. I mean, we get these weird people that we see throughout things, like when they go to save the friend and all of those kind of things. But this is when you start seeing the creatures, you start like getting an understanding of like how dangerous them moving through is, because when these things, I can't remember if we know it at this point or not, but when these things bite you,
we were learning it. Yeah, right then.
You become one of them. And so then when the blonde is attacked, the friend, we learn like that she gets to go, they go to that prayer wall. I'm not sure what to call it.
Yeah,
that's not correct,
I'm
but
not sure.
Where they put their thoughts and stuff on the pieces of paper, and they put them in the when they're back at that, which they'd been to earlier before things went crazy, but when they get back to that, and she's like sitting like hunched over because she feels like death probably. And then that's, I think, when we discover that she's bitten, or she's
got the neck wound
right here. And I think all of that stuff looks really, really good. And of course, we get the same thing, the same trope we get in zombie films, where we don't tell anyone, because that always works out. We don't tell anyone that someone got bit and could be infected.
And then they end up biting and affecting a bunch of. So basically, this is a zombies with wings movie. But the zombies are interpreted as being something else by the people of Jerusalem. Correct?
Yes.
It's basically what they are.
They make it biblical.
Yes. Whether or not it actually is, I don't know.
Well, and I assumed that's why it was spelled that way.
Right.
It's spelled with a giant Z in the middle of the logo.
Zombie. Yeah. And so they're underground, and that's really intense. She's still filming, interestingly. She still has her glasses on and is filming this entire time. Her friend is basically dying and walking around zombie-like.
She starts like throwing up blood, I think.
Yeah, everything's.
This one's not rated PG-13. This one's rated R.
Pretty graphic. Everything's in the dark, also very claustrophobic. And then there's just mayhem. She starts attacking someone. They all get separated. And I guess probably the best. I don't know how you would interpret this moment, but she has her glasses. There's face recognition software, which is a really cool device they used in this movie.
They
Yeah,
introduced that in the beginning when she puts
yes,
them on because she scans Indiana Jones and pulls up his
right.
Facebook and stuff. Yeah.
So clearly that's intentional. It's going to be important at the end of the
Important
movie, and it
later.
is.
Right.
One of these demon, zombie, angel things is towering over her. It scans its face, and at
Pulls
least
up.
her glasses, which are malfunctioning, I will say, uh, register this face to be that of her dead brother. Um, so whether or not it actually is her dead brother, so and this creature does seem to be showing them the way out. So whether or not it actually is her brother, you'd have to analyze that and figure out what that would be saying. If it is Revelations, that might make sense. Um,
That would mean
or
he had to show up there intentionally, though,
right,
to
right.
Jerusalem.
But if he's an angel, and all the angels are
Well,
coming to Jerusalem,
it's been a long time since I've been to Sunday school, but I do think that there is something about the city that that the end of the world
right?
starts in. So maybe that's part of it. That could
So
be that. I'm not sure.
I'm not. Yeah, you'd have to break that down. But
Mhm.
or I think there's a little bit of a window to say she talks about how her glasses are malfunctioning and doing weird things. She already did scan her brother's face at one point earlier in the movie, so could have been a malfunction, I suppose.
Yeah, I think they could probably different interpretations on
Yeah,
that one, probably. Um, yeah, so but then like I'm trying to remember because who attacks her? Is it the friend? The friend attacks her.
yeah. At some point she gets bit, but you don't really necessarily know that because it's
You
dark.
don't know until
Yeah,
she's like they finally find out they're going through this tunnel and they see daylight finally.
yeah,
And so it's her and Indiana Jones left and they go
yep.
out and but she's like kind of like hunching over, falling over, she's making weird noises. We're like, "Oh, like,
Yep.
it's coming." And so and then by the time she gets from where she is inside the little opening to outside, she's changing.
And so I guess presumably she will infect the rest of the world, right? Because she got beyond the walls and the gates of Jerusalem.
Yeah. And then we get this shot also from VHS one where she's wearing glasses and she goes up and we get to see the
Yes.
wings
Oh, yes. Same
and the
shot.
shot of the city where everything's being blown up and all those creatures are coming up out of the middle of the thing and attacking. The helicopters look like some of them are spiraling. And anyway, that's the same directly from
You're
VHS.
right.
But
That's the exact same shot. I didn't think of that.
yes, six
Hmm.
and a half.
Well,
I mean, five and a half. Five and a half.
maybe they're vampires. Maybe they're not maybe they're not. So they're
She's obsessed with it.
zombie, vampire, alien,
Angel
demon,
demons.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a Dan Brown book, Angels and Demons?
Yes. They made it a movie, didn't they?
Yes, they
It's
did.
the
Tom
sequel
Hanks,
to Da Vinci
Da
Code.
Vinci, yeah.
Yeah, there we
And
go.
yeah, that is something I didn't expect us to be talking about on this show. Ever.
Well, here we are.
Not found footage.
Yeah, so I think it loses some points for creativity for me because the
I
setup
get
and the
that.
ending are VHS one.
I get that.
I forget the name of that story. I can't remember. I never remember the name of the segments, but anyway.
I feel like that's probably one of the most iconic VHS stories too.
Yeah, when you bring it up, that's the one people remember. And they went
Yeah.
on to make another movie about her, about the
Did
succubus.
they?
It's called is it called Siren? No, what is it called? I can't remember. It's called Her Name or something like that.
There's a
It's like
movie? Really? I didn't know that.
I
Huh.
don't know if it's found footage. I don't remember, but I know that I've heard people talking about it. So
Interesting.
anyway,
Well, so yeah, so Jerusalem. I liked it. Angel so on it,
mhm.
but it's definitely I think it's a lot of fun. I can see a lot of your problems with it. Is there anything is there anything you didn't mention that was a huge problem with it? I feel like you didn't say it. Okay.
No, I just No, it's just that mostly that one thing, I think, for me.
Okay.
Oh, and I didn't mention this, and I'm not gonna go into, like, grotesque details here, but there's a sex scene in this that's fine, like, that's
I
in horror, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
This with the glasses and the dad messaging her and the things he was
I know what
saying,
you're talking about. Yeah, I know what
I
you're
was like,
talking about.
who talks this way to their adult daughter? Because it was saying like, "Oh, my sweet, you're my sweet little good girl," and I'm like, first of all, if I was of drinking age and my dad was speaking to me like that, I'd be like, yeah, enough of that. But they stage it on purpose so that you can see the messages while she's sleeping with this guy, and I'm like, why was this put in here? I hated that part, Tom.
Yeah, that
I
was not. That wasn't
hated
that.
it.
I agree. That was not good.
It was so the sex scene's fine, like,
Unnecessary.
that's really quick, but the messaging from the dad took it to, like, a whole nother level, and
Like,
for
what?
the record, he can't see it, but that's not really the reason it's unsettling. It's
I
unsettling
think it
because
was supposed to be funny. I think it was supposed to be funny. It
you
wasn't, but it
think
was
it
supposed to be.
wasn't. It was cringy, it made me wanna vomit, like, it's so gross. I hated that
You heard
scene.
it, guys. This movie made Angel want to vomit. Go
Yes,
watch it
yes.
on Tubi.
Uh, yeah, it's also it's on a bunch of stuff too, I think. I think
Yeah,
it's
I think so.
streaming on I think I watched it on Tubi, but I think it's a couple other places, so but yeah, so that's our thoughts on Jerusalem. Oh, we have a fun episode next.
What is it? Let me hear.
We got a message about another screener.
I had a lot of fun with the last one.
I did too.
Last one was
I
Hunting for the Hag. Yeah.
Yeah, so then the next one we're going to be talking about is a film that's coming up. It doesn't release until the day the episode drops, which is perfect timing.
Wow.
And it's a found footage movie called The Wendigo.
Great title. I wonder what
And
it's
you
about.
know, Angel's a big fan of Wendigos. I don't think you can see my Wendigo baby up there, but there's one up there. I am mildly obsessed with Wendigos. I just covered Wendigos recently on an episode of another series called Beast and Booze. I'm a massive, like, I'm always like, we need more Wendigo stories. So,
So will we be doing a full episode then? Because it's releasing on that day.
you know, I got to find out when I get the link, I need to find out if he would like us to do it unspoiled. Because he
Okay.
may, but it drops on August 4th, which will be the release date of the film. So
Okay.
more information on that impending. But he did tell me that some of this is based on things that happened to him as a kid.
I'm very interested to see this now.
Very interested. I'm dying to get like some cool Wendigo stuff, and it's found footage. Come on.
Absolutely.
So
Oh,
anyway, so that's what our
next
next.
week, the Wendigo.
Yes. So anyway, that's all we got for this one. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this Found Footage Friday. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your week coming up. And Tom and I will see you next week.
See you then. Bye.